I finally did it. I actually managed to finish Astrobot. And yes, we're going to talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ria, and I typically vlog or play video games or do videos on like hair, makeup, the like. Recently, I've been gaming a lot because I haven't had to travel, so I've been able to sit down and enjoy some of the video games that I've been playing, and one of those is still technically Astrobot. And for those of you who don't know what Astrobot is all about, you play a cute little robot who is trying to get all of the pieces of his ship back while also rescuing more than 300 of his little robot friends. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about the experience, what I thought of the game, and if I change anything, if I would play it again. We're going to talk about that today. So if you watched my previous videos on Astrobot, you'll know how I feel about it. I had really been enjoying the game tons. I felt like it was more than just a video game. To me, it felt like an actual experience. It was like that right to the end of story mode. It was an absolute blast, and I was absolutely gutted by the ending, albeit for a brief moment. I'm just going to go ahead and warn you that there are some spoilers in this video, so if you don't want to know what is happening, word of caution. It's a very standard formula where you're just trying to rescue all your friends and there's a big boss at the end, and they actually did a really good job of creating a cinematic moment in the game where it felt very much like an heroic story, and it broke me. There are very few video games where I've cried. The main one that I can think of right now being Child of Light, and this one almost got me at the end. I was about to lose my emotional mind. Now, maybe I was hormonal, I don't know, but man, the last little bit, there's this last little part where you're thinking it's all over and you've done your best, and you just absolutely, I almost became an emotional wreck. Fortunately, I did not cry, but I could have seen myself depending on how this all went. I think that really speaks to how well this game is so tightly written, and how it goes beyond being a video game. It's actually an experience. To know that they were able to make me emotional like that, well done. Now, in terms of the story, this was such a, cut and paste, typical, like how many formulas can you create to make a story, right? So I think the appeal of this is there are a couple of different audiences. First of all, I think this appeals very highly to kids because it's such an easy game to just leave for a few weeks, come back, pick up, and keep playing. There are tutorials when you come back. You can, if you're stuck in a spot, you can watch the little, tutorials pop up on the screen, and it'll remind you of what to do. But I also think there's a huge appeal here for adults who are casual gamers and are super busy. So that's, I think, a huge part, like knowing what kind of gamer you are. That really appealed to me. There are some games that are out there that are extremely complicated that you need to sit down and dedicate, consistent hours to. Like you can't go 2-3 weeks without playing the game and then coming back unless you have a huge brain, unless you're big brain. And coming back and you're like, how does this work again? So with Astrobot, it's so simple. The mechanics are very minimal, and it's harder for you to get lost. So I really appreciate how accessible the game is to different ages and different experiences. It's definitely an easier game to beat relative to some of the other games that I've played, but it doesn't mean that it's not worth playing. So I definitely appreciated that as well. The look and the feel of the game is something else that I'm just so impressed with. And I love how vivid and bright and creative things were. I cannot imagine to begin the licensing that would have had to go on to get all the different characters. Seeing characters from like Horizons, for instance, or, Kratos from God of War, and being able to use some of the weaponry that they used in those games to finish your Astrobot levels, I thought was really clever. And I thought it was a really beautiful ode, not only to, the different titles that you might have enjoyed on PlayStation, but also to the game itself. And I think that's what makes it really unique, is that it just borrows from different games, but it also makes it into something new. And I just found that really memorable. And it was really just another tick on the box to be like, now I understand why this was Game of the Year. Now, there are some other things that once you finish story mode proper that you get to unlock, which is really cool. I have been sort of casually playing those, and I'm not really, in it for keeps for those parts. Typically, when I finish a story mode, I'm kind of done with the game. Sometimes I'll go back and do the extra things, but the cool thing about Astrobot is it's not impossible for you to completely beat the game. And I know that there are some games out there where, the first one I think of, Super Mario Odyssey, was super annoying because you had to go back and try, if you wanted to fully complete the game, there were some tasks in there that were just almost impossible to complete unless you were just grinding and grinding and practicing and grinding, and then you finally were able to beat certain levels, and it just got a little too out of control and it completely turned me off. For Astrobot, the nice thing is when you go back into a level, you have the option to spend 200 coins on this little bird that looks, I call him the Twitter bird because he's like formerly now dead Twitter bird. You can spend the money to have him help you sort of locate in a sort of radar style, or like where certain things, certain MacGuffins are. It'll also help you find alternate exits or like secret exits, which I actually need to go back and do a whole bunch of those. I definitely want to finish the secret exit levels. I found a lot of the secret exit levels incredibly entertaining and so much fun. So for me, there are some things that are absolutely worth it to go back and do again, but I'm not hell-bent, let's say, on 100%ing the game. And I feel like story mode left me in a place where it was like, it's okay if I don't. The music, I don't download a lot of soundtracks for video games. There are only a handful that I have right now. A lot of it is Eurobeat stuff. The Astrobot soundtrack is fantastic, and I actually listened to it on the way to work. It's one of those games that is sort of meant to overall feel like it's upbeat, but I really appreciate how creative and fun the music is, and I think they did a really, really good job with that, and I'm so happy that I have, access to the soundtrack and that I can listen to it every day. So would I play Astrobot again? Oh my gosh, absolutely. In fact, I'm really excited to see if there's another title coming out in the next couple of years. I hope there is. I think it's an incredibly creative effort from, the studio that put it together. I know that there were some issues with the previous studio, and some of the game devs broke away from that studio to create a new studio, which then in turn gave us this Astrobot game. I cannot recommend it enough. Probably as close to perfect as it's going to get from me. I want to give it a 4.5 out of 5, but I want to stress that it's a really high 4.5. So that could have easily been 5 points. There are some things sometimes where you get a little bit confused about which way you need to go, for instance, in the game, and that can be kind of frustrating. There are also some times where it feels like the mechanics aren't, even across the board. So in some cases you can actually jump to a certain platform, but in other cases, what feels like the same length of jump you can't do in other levels. So it's a little bit confusing, but I feel like that is just a very small detail of the game, and I really don't want to hold it against it, which is why I'm giving it a super high 4.5 out of 5. If you haven't played Astrobot yet, if you have been a total hater of it, I urge you to give it a try. It might not be your kind of game, but even playing through the first couple of worlds, you can appreciate and see why it was so highly applauded. I really cannot wait to see what this studio comes up with next, if it does do anything else. But they definitely need, I would absolutely love another Astrobot title. What do you think? Is there going to be another Astrobot title sort of in this line? Do you think you would play it? Are you going to give it a chance? I want to know. I'm so curious. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for watching my video and last thoughts around Astrobot. I'm going to see if I can complete it, but this is the end of it for me here for Astrobot and talking about it, albeit I'm sure there's going to be some sort of final list that I have at the end of the year. So I'm putting that one away, and I'm so excited to play some of my other games that I have. I got a couple games for my birthday that I really want to play. Be sure to follow me if you're interested in watching any of my other videos, and I will see you in the next one.